Hello and welcome to the Wisdom in Your Anger. How to connect with your anger in a healthy and conscious way for every area of your life. So, welcome. My name is Samantha Francis and I am your Fem Power educator. I have over 15 years worth of experience in therapies, energy healing. I'm a trained Reiki master teacher. I'm also a positive parenting specialist. I've trained and coached in relationship healing, masculine and feminine dynamics. I have a background in education, law, and healthcare. I'm also a #1 best-selling author, a certified belief clearing practitioner. My work has been featured in the media, and I am here to show women how to rise up in their femme power. So that's my work history, the things I've experienced, the things I've been in qualifications with. But I'd like to get you to know me on a more personal level and have an understanding of where I've been, what I've overcome, and where I am now. So in my personal life, which I speak really openly about, I have 13 years of domestic violence experience. I've experienced permanent brain trauma from an attack. I've experienced physical disability. I've struggled with mental health disorders for the majority of my life. I've been a single parent twice. I've experienced sexual and childhood abuse and trauma. I've had a mental breakdown, which turned out to be a massive breakthrough for myself and changed my life completely. I've spent 5 years fighting in the criminal and family court to keep my family safe. And I have a child that was diagnosed with PTSD at the age of 3. And to be quite honest and frank, I lost everything and I had to start my life again from the inside out. And I used to have a major issue with expressing my anger. So enough about me. Why are you here? Well, this is an anger masterclass. So I'm pretty sure you are here to learn about yourself, about your anger, and how to express and feel your anger that feels very conscious, healthy, and aligned. And that's what you're going to get here in this masterclass. So what's the big deal with anger? Well, the truth is, for generations, anger has been an emotion that has had to be suppressed by women. It's always been socially more accepting for males to show anger, which has meant females have had to be unknowingly shamed, blamed, and suppressed in the process, which in turn has led to anger getting bigger and bigger and spilling over into the other areas of their lives. If we don't know how to cope or manage certain emotions, then our emotions have a way of running us. So what exactly is anger and why is there so much judgment around it? Well, anger's been expressed in ways that do not feel good to others. So it's easy to be shamed and shut down when others feel uncomfortable, leaving you feeling embarrassed, ashamed, and really not important. If this happens as a child, it impacts deeply as the child takes the shutting down and lack of emotional availability as a reflection of their self-worth, and in turn, they lose the love and space for themselves. So let's just have a check-in with ourselves at the moment. And I just wanted to spend a couple of minutes, just a really short space of time, just really relaxing our nervous systems, because this masterclass is about emotions, it's about the body, it's about feeling. So I want you to get in a really relaxed position, and I want you to close your eyes, and I want you to just sit in a really comfortable position for you. And now I want you to take a deep inhale through your nose, pull it right down, and exhale. And again, another deep inhale through your nose, pull it right down, and exhale. And I want you to keep focusing on your breathing whilst you set the intentions for this masterclass or anything else that's important in your life right now. Just keep focusing on your breath, noticing how your body responds. Deep breathing. Inhale and exhale. And when you're ready, open your eyes and come back into the room. So that was just something to get the nervous system in a much calmer and soothed space. But it's also something that you can do on a regular, where you can tune into your body through your breath and feel. So what is anger? Anger is an emotion like all other emotions. It has a message for you. Anger also occurs when something is important to you. So if you think about it, think about the times when you would get really angry. Like, what has to happen in those moments for you to just get really, really angry or get into your rage? Are they times when somebody has potentially disrespected you? Are they times when somebody has crossed your boundaries? Are there times when somebody has given you a present? Really feel into this and really think about this. When are the times that you feel anger? Because if you think about it, it will be because something has been important to you, even if that means your boundaries are important, or your time is important, or your space is important. Anger occurs when something is important. So our emotions are energy. It's energy in motion. And below every emotion is a felt sense, a sensation. And from that sensation, you can conclude what specific emotion you're feeling. So, for example, if you're feeling the emotion of happiness, that creates a very different sensation in your body as it would if you were feeling anger. So really have a think about that as well. Like, what sensations do I feel when I am feeling these different emotions? This is a really good way of getting to know yourself, deepening connection with yourself, and building the relationship with yourself as well. And this also will impact your emotional intelligence in a really positive way. You see, the emotion is never what causes the pain and suffering that we think it does. It instead comes from the constriction, the belief conditioning, and the disempowering of your ability to expand and evolve. Know this, that there is always something new to learn when an emotion comes up. So a lot of people think that sadness and disappointment and anger is what that painful feeling is. But actually it's not. It's the suppression of it. It's the pushing down of it. It's the not acknowledging it. It's not the expansion. It's the prohibiting of growth that is painful. The number one way we know we're holding emotions and stagnation is when we're experiencing the same sensation with the emotion too. Triggers anyone? So I'm sure we can all relate to this in one way or another when it comes to triggers, right? Because you are going to be triggered left, right, and center in different ways all throughout your life, in different extremities and different sensations. But if we're finding ourselves being triggered by similar situations and being triggered in the same way, and we're feeling the same sensation coming up, That's where we know there's an invitation for healing. That's where we know there's an invitation for releasing. We're holding on to something that no longer needs to be within us. So this is essentially because the body is in default. It has an internal response. The wise instinct of your body says that it needs to complete old stress cycles to release past experiences and fully actualize a healthy relationship with these experiences. Every sensation is an invitation to look within and heal. Remember, it is not a case of wanting to clear you of anger or get rid of it. The point is to invite you to learn the wisdom of your anger and expand your awareness and emotional intelligence. So here are 4 key tools to support you with integrating your anger: breath work, sound work, intention, and presence, also known as just holding space for yourself. So if you can imagine the role of anger, right? So anger is like the bodyguard of your soul. Now, every emotion has a unique frequency and energetic blueprint. It has its own texture, and it's why we experience emotions in different ways. The energy of anger strengthens and fortifies your sense of self to ensure that all, including yourself and others, are protected and maintained in the knowledge of where you end and where you begin. Now, what does that mean exactly? It means simply that anger offers us boundaries and self-awareness. It is the foundation for self-responsibility and invites us to be accountable in any situation. If we do not have a skillful relationship with anger, you can project that your experience is the experience of another, or vice versa, also known as enmeshment. Or you can go the other way and leak energy inwardly and feel like a victim, where you feel you cannot take any responsibility from sensation or overwhelm. What can feel like a black and white situation and the need to separate what's yours and what's mine, survival, starts to dissolve when we have a healthy relationship with anger. We have a connection with boundaries, safety, respect, and honor, and a strong sense of this is who I am when you feel steady and safe in yourself first. So let us explore anger as a medicine for you. The key components of anger are boundaries, protection, and honor for ourselves and others. What anger looks like when skillfully expressed. So, sense of self is the equivalent to a boundary. Anytime anger comes up, channel the energy and intensity of anger, the need to defend. And remember, anger is there to guide your soul, and it will only arise when you feel threatened and unsafe. So again, when somebody is potentially crossing that boundary or attempting to. But also, what is the energy of anger? This is something that will be unique for you. So it's something that I'd want you to really bring more awareness and mindfulness to when you feel the sensation of anger. How does that feel? For many, it will feel like their whole bodies are heating up. For some, it will feel like waves of heat at the front of their body or at the back. It really is unique for you, but get to know the sensation of your anger because you'll need it. Channel this energy into your boundary to create a more solid sense of this is me, this is where I am, I've got myself, which essentially means inner fortification. When you channel instead of projecting or collapsing in, you're saying, I'm right here. You're standing in your power and you're affirming it. The more intense the anger, the deeper the capacity is to say, I'm here, I've got myself. This technique, no matter whatever the context is, will leave you feeling more safe, protected, and able to hold a conversation, act, or engage in a healthier way. And again, this technique, no matter the context, it will also help you to hold a conversation, act, or engage in a way that's not harsh, but is focused and strong, so it dissolves the need to attack because you feel safe within. The brilliant thing about anger is that the more intense, the bigger the capacity to ground, focus, and discern from that you are seeing, that you are setting boundaries just energetically, which means you also set them up physically and verbally without harm. This then improves how the recipient receives you. If you attack, you have two people who feel unsafe with collapsed boundaries. When someone is angry, their boundaries are collapsed and they are needing support as they are feeling unsafe and threatened. So by counteracting and counterattacking, it will not fix it. The key is to establish safety, not get caught up in the power dynamics. It's also why I always say you don't fight fire with fire. If you are going to fight in any way at all, you fight fire with water. But let's look at the emotional conditioning around anger as well, because this is something that has been affecting us as women for generations. And, we're conditioned by genders from a young age. Women are taught to feel emotions, but not allowed to feel anger. And when a woman is emotional, it's deemed that she's weak. And the result of this conditioning means that women have had to collapse within themselves, which then results in a lack of self-awareness, which then means they are more susceptible to conditioning and abuse, and that their ability to set boundaries and access high self-worth is essentially diminished. They then disconnect from the wisdom in their anger and its importance to use it. So anger is always needed. This leaves you feeling less than, which is not true. You can't feel or express the one emotion that ensures you are responsible for yourself, knows yourself as an individual, sets boundaries for yourself, stands up for others, feels safe in your body when you experience anger. Anger allows you to speak, protect, and restore honor for yourself and others. And it really is true that when you collapse inwards, when you suppress, it really does affect your self-worth, and you can feel like you are less than. But I want to reinforce again that this is simply not true. Men are taught to be strong and that anger is okay to feel, but nothing else emotionally is okay. Isn't this interesting? Some are even afraid to feel anger as they connect anger with violence. Cultural conditioning is the reason we feel fear and lack of skill with anger, and we look for evidence to prove the conditioning is true. And this is just how our brains work. I invite you to explore your own conditioning with anger. So let's have a look at expressions of anger. So we've got repressed and we've got expressive. So when we repress anger, we collapse inwards. We experience boundary loss, enmeshment. We become self-absorbed, potentially complacent. We experience apathy, doormat syndrome. We lose our voice. We make an excuse for any attackers or abusers in our lives. And when this happens, you can't respect, protect, or honor yourself or the other person. Please know that your boundaries are kind and loving and so needed. We've got the opposite end, expressive. Now, when you're expressive of this, you project. You have a lot of hate. You have a distorted power dynamics going on. You may resort to violence, and it's all from a lack of safety and feeling isolated. The more you navigate and recondition, it dissolves the knee-jerk impulse. Now I ask you, can you see where you may fall predominantly in any one of these groups? Do you fall within the repressed group, or do you fall within the expressive group? And then we have examples of spiritual bypassing. So I'd love to know if you have experienced any of this or heard it, or, I know I've heard all of it. So here are some common ones. Anger is not an emotion we should feel. Really? You are afraid, you're grieving. That is the real problem. If we all just feel like one, we will never experience anger. We will just experience peace, which makes no sense whatsoever, as we need to feel it to feel connected to our peace. Remember, we need anger. Anger is a strength as it helps us to know who we are. We cannot meet the needs of others or honor boundaries if you cannot honor your own. You can't honor someone's truth if you can't honor your own. You cannot solve a disconnect from your own discontent and disconnect. We can experience oneness without abandoning ourselves. Anger supports our mental and emotional discernment, freedom, autonomy, and physical well-being. We ideally want to live in the awareness and practice of embracing all emotions as true and necessary for our wellness. When we allow ourselves to be intimate with our experiences and emotions, we experience oneness in and down. This creates a deep level of surrender, peace, love, and deep wisdom. So, how do we honor the anger in others? Two of the most common things we do, and in turn the worst things we do when dealing with another's anger, is immediately go into repression of expression and attempt to calm without hearing them out, because this in turn invalidates them and will lead them to feel more anger. Here are some helpful tips. Do not try to fix their anger. When you create space, it offers them clarity. Remember, when they're in that state, the body, primal brain, nervous system does not know if the emotion is happening now or years ago, so the body receives it as a real threat. And I want to make something really clear here as a disclaimer in terms of violence and abuse. If you are experiencing this, please know that this masterclass will support you in understanding yourself and understanding the other person, but it will never condone violence and abuse. And I invite you to seek the necessary support and help to help you in your particular situation. So, what happens when anger gets stuck? Well, when an intensely traumatic experience happens and we can't fully feel or move the stress through our bodies in movement, it gets stored in our bodies as an incomplete stress cycle. This gets stored as tension and stress. This can also occur when you've been shamed and invalidated, and the body will keep a memory store of it. When anger is expressed in an emotionally unintelligent way, it can result in violence or scary behavior. So when it's stuck, you tend to experience the anger again and again in the same way, and the same situations may trigger you. When it's unstuck, it's almost like you never feel, you collapse in, you go into numbness, you never access it. So if the nervous system is alarmed when anger arises, it's almost like you crumble within. So here are some steps to support yourself and another's anger. Number 1, Do the internal boundary work. So remember, tune into what the sensation of anger feels like for you. Get to know it, just the same way that you would get to know the sensation of happiness or pleasure. Empathize if you've been presented with anger. Remember, often we are shown the sacred mirror reflection. So, if you are experiencing something repeatedly, maybe it is time to have a check-in and see what is being shown to you externally. Make your own checks and balance within yourself. If they are really angry, it doesn't mean that you don't take ownership of your reaction and past energy. Ask yourself, what feels unsafe right now? So this is so important because this stops you from reacting, and this keeps the energy very clean and tidy by you taking ownership for how you're feeling and how you're going to potentially show up. Listen to the deeper needs and come together. When you empathize, you invite in a feeling of union. By setting a boundary, you can honor your space and theirs. And from that space, you can become allies. Bear in mind, you can always walk away if needed, but communicate as you do this. For example, I need to just take time out right now as I'm feeling a bit unsafe or whatever the sensation is, but give me 5 minutes and I will come right back to you, or however long you need. Here are some practices also to support you in your partnerships. And actually, this can really work for any relationship you're having. Acknowledge with your partner every time you're feeling angry, because in that, there is something you deeply care about. This humanizes you. And often, if you think about it, when we feel anger as a society, we dehumanize people for it. Remind each other that you get to be in a safe space for each other. So again, that's almost placing energetic boundaries there and verbalizing it. Recognize when speaking from pain. So you could say to your partner, I'm going to speak from my pain. Are you available for that? Or I feel like I need to speak from my pain. Are you available for that at some point? Remember, always get consent so they take nothing personally or feel attacked. Keep eye-to-eye intimacy. So when you're speaking, try to keep that eye contact. Now, that's something I would recommend you do anyway, but especially in this moment when you're feeling really vulnerable and you are speaking from your pain, your partner will feel you, and they will feel you even more so with eye-to-eye intimacy. And here's another thing you can do. Acknowledge to the person that you're sorry that they're hurting too. It's not taking responsibility for how they feel, but it's being honest with yourself, and it's empathizing with them also. So here's a technique you can do to release stuck anger. So through your breath, you give yourself permission to sit with it. You then set your boundaries, you feel, you maintain, and you fortify. So again, it's getting to understand that feeling, that sensation that you feel when it comes to anger. Notice where you feel tense, contracted, and hot. This is where anger will be stuck. Now tune in and ask what message it has, what wisdom it has for you, what's needed, and what you need to give to yourself. Now ask yourself, what role has it previously played for you? And I want you to then breathe into the stuck area and exhale to express it and release it. You can use sound with this, you can use movement, whatever feels good for you. And of course, if you feel unsafe, you stop and refocus on fortifying your boundaries with your sensation of anger. Anger's rightful place as the protector of your soul is essentially what it is. Rage is amplified anger and extreme distress. This happens when anger has not been honored. It comes up again to fortify us, and the rage is the energy of enough is enough. The role they play helps us to heal our trauma where it has shocked the nervous system and shattered your boundaries. So please know, if you know anything or learn anything from this masterclass, that anger and rage are crucial for your well-being. I hope you've enjoyed this masterclass. Speak soon. And thank you for joining.